Hey guys, I'm Liz. This is my Nitecore NEF10 fan that I use for camping. On the screen here, you'll find all the different tests and experiments that I put this fan through, as well as why I think it's possibly the best tent fan with an attached lantern, and hopefully that gives you all the info you need on this and whether to buy it or not. Let's get started. First up, we've got the unboxing. I bought this fan direct from Nitecore because there's an official store near me, and I think their stuff is pretty great, so I just had to try this out. Here are some shots of what it looks like brand new from Nitecore, just in case you want to check out what it looks like. Now I'm going to unbox it and show you what I got out of the box. I got the fan itself, a small carabiner, a little user guide, a tripod stand, and a cable for recharging the fan. But before you take this out camping though, I highly recommend charging it first. At the back of the fan, you'll find this flap which says input and output here. Peel the flap open, and behind you'll find the USB-C input and the USB-A output. Let's talk about the input first because that's how we charge the fan. Just grab the provided USB-C cable that came with this fan, plug the USB-C end into the fan here, and the regular USB-A end into any outlet you have at home. When you do so, this light above the ports will turn red, which means that it's charging. Now, how long does this take to charge? The official specs said about 4.5 hours, and mine really did take almost exactly 4.5 hours. When it's done charging, the red light above the ports will turn green, and that's how you know that it's fully charged, so you can unplug it then. Now the USB-A output here is for charging your devices, so just plug your cable in here. Mine is a USB-A to lightning cable because I use an iPhone 12, and the power indicator will turn blue when it's charging your phone like this. Now here are the results of this test. Day 1, I started my charge at about 14% and I got my phone to a 98% charge 2.5 hours later. Day 2, I started my charge again at 14%, got my phone to a 96% charge 2.5 hours later, and I plugged it out again. Day 3, started at 14% again, got to a 25% charge 15 minutes later, and the charging stopped on its own. Basically, I got 2 full solid charges, plus a bit of leftover charge. Alternatively, you can charge your phone from 20 to 80% instead of what I did, which sapped up a lot more power, and this way you can get about 3+ solid charges instead. If you're wondering, the capacity of this Nitecore is 10,000 milliampere hours, which I think is accurate judging from my test results, and this is a surprisingly big capacity for such a small fan. How many different fan modes does this Nitecore have? All the buttons of the fan are here. There are 3 in total, and this bottom button here controls the fan modes. Hit the button once for the low mode, another time for the medium mode, once more for the high mode, and then hit it again if you want to turn it off. That's 3 fan modes altogether. As for the fan speeds, the only info I could find is that it has a max fan speed of 4 meters per second. So let's test for the different speeds of each fan using this mini anemometer. When I turn the fan on to the first low mode, and when I hold the anemometer right in front of the fan and let the reading stabilize a bit, I got a reading of about 2.7 meters or 8.9 feet per second. On the next medium mode, I got a reading of about 3.7 meters or 12.1 feet per second. And on the last high mode, I got an average reading of about 4.2 meters or 13.8 feet per second. Here's a table summarizing all the different fan speeds you can expect from this fan, and I think this is a nice range of fan speeds to be able to pick from. I also wanted to measure the max airflow distance that this Nitecore can give us, so I sat in my room, made sure there's no external wind at all. I put the anemometer up close to the fan and slowly increased the distance from the fan. Then I located the exact spot where the meter hit a 0 meters per second reading. Notice here that the meter blades are still turning, but not fast enough to register a reading on the meter. The distance from the fan here came in at about 121 inches, or 10.1 feet, or 3.1 meters, and that's my Nitecore over there on the highest fan mode. I did the exact same thing with all the other modes, and here's a table showing you all my results. The medium speed had a max airflow distance of 92 inches, which is 7.7 feet, or 2.3 meters. And the low speed had a max distance of 70 inches, which is 5.8 feet or 1.8 meters. When it comes to tent camping, I'm in a Coleman Sundom 6 now, and I'll put the dimensions of this tent on the screen. I've put the Nitecore at one end, and I'm going to use this windmill to see how far the real airflow is. It starts off spinning really quickly when it's close to the fan, and as I slowly back away from it, it gets slower and slower as the wind speed dies off. At the other end of the tent, it's still spinning, but notice that it starts to slow down. You can still feel a little bit of a draft here right at the other end, but it's not strong at all. So yes, you can use the Nitecore in a 6-person tent, but that's probably the max tent size, and something smaller like a 4-person tent might be a little better instead. And to test for the noise level, I got this separate sound meter. Here's the base sound level with the fan turned off, and the reading comes in at about 41 decibels. On the low speed, the sound meter goes up to an average of, I would say, about 45 decibels. Now on the medium speed, it comes in at about 51 decibels. The high speed comes in at about 56 decibels, which is surprisingly quiet for the high speed. And of course, here's what each of the fan speeds sounds like when I hold the fan up to the mic right now. As for the runtimes of this fan, here's what the official specs say. We've got 27 hours on low, 13 hours on medium, and 8 hours on high. Now, I've filled in all the official specs numbers into this column here, and how different is this from my actual tested results? Here we go. On high, I've got a total runtime of 9 hours. On medium, I got a runtime of 14 hours and 45 minutes. And on low, I got a runtime of about 32 hours. So on average, I got about 15% more than I was expecting, which is great. Moving away from the fan modes, let's talk about the lantern modes, and the middle of the 3 buttons here controls the lantern function. Hit the button once for the dim or low mode, another time for the medium mode, once more for the high brightness mode, and then hit it again if you want to turn it off. That's 3 lantern modes altogether. Now, I couldn't find any info on what the lumen output is, so let's test that ourselves using my lux meter. On the first dim mode, I got a reading of 34 lumens on my lux meter. Remember to watch the face of the meter carefully when I turn it to face you, because the reading will drop immediately when I do so. On the next medium mode, I got a reading of 71 lumens, and on the high brightness mode, I got a reading of 124 lumens, and that's all the lumen outputs that you need to know. The light quality is decent, the frosting on the light is actually quite nice, and it doesn't hurt my eyes too much. The color is a little bit cooler than what I'm used to though. Here's what it looks like hanging at the top of my tent at night. On the brightest mode, it's pretty bright, so it lights up the entire base very well. Even when I was sitting at the very edge of my tent, I could still see the words on this paper very well, so it's great for reading or playing cards if you like to do that. I'm also going to show you what the medium mode looks like. It doesn't quite light up the base as much, but you can still read too, though it's more straining on the eyes. Now for the dimmest mode, here's what it looks like. This makes reading quite a bit more difficult, and it's best used as a nightlight. From the outside of the tent, this is what the lantern looks like on all the different modes. And also, here's what the Nitecore looks like hanging from a tripod, but without a tent, just in case you want to check it out. Now, if you don't use the fan and just use the lantern function alone, how long can this Nitecore run for? The official specs say 100 hours on low, 50 hours on medium, and 28 hours on high. Again, you know the drill. Here's the table summarizing how my testing compared to the official specs. On the high mode, I got 23.5 hours. On the medium mode, I got 38.5 hours. And on the low mode, I got about 75 hours. Sadly, that's on average about 20 to 25% less than I was expecting. Now, what if you run both the fan and the lantern together? There's no official specs on this, so here's just my testing. On the high fan mode, you guys already know from my previous test that came in at about 9 hours. Now, what if I run the low light and the high fan mode? That came in at 8 hours for me. And running the medium light function and the high fan mode at the same time, that was 7 hours and 11 minutes for me. And the max brightness and max fan mode came in at about 6.5 hours. So that's a decrease of about 11%, 19%, and 28% across all the different modes that you're using. And everything you need to know is right here. Now, if you want to conserve your battery power power over multiple days, use the sleep timer to turn the fan off after you fall asleep. The top of the 3 buttons here is this sleep timer button. You have 3 options here. The first press shuts the fan off in 1 hour. The second press, 3 hours, and the third press, 5 hours. How accurate is this sleep timer though? Of course, I tested this, and here are the results that I got. I used a stopwatch here to test exactly how long each of the timer modes ran for before turning off. And I found that the sleep timer was very accurate, give or take only about 1/6 of a second. So that's really good. Okay, so far we've gone through these lights. The top 3 lights here are for the sleep timer, the bottom 3 from the left are for the fan modes, and the last one is for the power indicator. You've seen that go blue when charging my phone, red when I'm charging the fan, and green when it's fully charged. The last thing to take note of here is that when the power on this fan is really low, it'll keep blinking red like this. And that's all you need to know about this power indicator. I thought the brightness of the indicator lights was really quite perfect. Let me show you exactly how it looks like in the dark. Notice that you can only see them when you're looking directly at the lights, and when you're not directly facing the lights, you can't see them at all. Now, let me turn the lights up just a wee bit and also show you what it looks like. It's such a nice touch, right? I didn't even have to cover them at night when I slept because it's just the right brightness for me. One thing though, you can't really see the lights in broad daylight because they're not that bright, even if you're facing it directly. This Nitecore comes with a ball head tripod. It comes detached, but you can easily screw it into the tripod thread at the bottom. This is the gear to turn to tighten it into the tripod thread. Now, if you want the fan to stand on the ground, just extend the 3 legs like so. I thought it was pretty stable, even though it didn't exactly lock in place. It says here that the Nitecore has 5 adjustable height levels. Well, that's technically correct because it does have 5 different levels here to adjust, but I thought that this was a little bit of an exaggeration. To adjust the legs, just press this back button here and it'll slide across easily. This is what the Nitecore looks like at the shortest height. And here is another of my camping fans. Now, when I make the Nitecore as tall as possible, here's what it looks like compared to my other fan. Still so much shorter. Overall, the legs at the maximum extension extended up at most 3 centimeters or just slightly over 1 inch. So honestly, the whole 5-step adjustable level thing, kind of gimmicky. One really good thing about this is the ball head tripod there. To loosen the ball head, just twist this gear thing anti-clockwise. After that, you can literally adjust the face of the fan any way that you want it to. It goes 360 degrees all around. You can even face it sideways or even upwards. And after you find the position that you like, just twist the gear clockwise and the face of the fan will lock in place. Another feature is the standard 1/4 of an inch tripod thread, and I noticed that the thread inside actually doesn't start immediately. It's deeper in than I would have liked, and because the thread on my external tripod is a little bit shorter than I would have liked, the Nitecore doesn't fit on it at all. This was really disappointing because another one of my camping fans with a better thread fit perfectly. The Nitecore comes with this tiny handle at the back, which gives you a nice grip to pick it up and bring it around. Also, remember the provided carabiner? That's so you can hook it to this handle here and hang it up in your tent if your tent has one of these circle lantern loops. This Nitecore also has a fan hood that you can actually remove. To do so, just hold the fan face like this and use both your thumbs to slide the hood anti-clockwise. It slides off very smoothly, and that's how you remove it. To get it back on, just put the hood back onto the fan with the logo slightly off center a little bit to the left. Then, while using your thumbs to press down on the hood gently, turn the hood clockwise and it should slide back in smoothly again and lock back into place. You should be able to hear it click into place softly, and the logo should be horizontal at the front here. As for waterproofing, I couldn't find an IP rating on this Nitecore, so I decided to rain test it myself. I put it through a little bit of light rain, maybe 15-30 minutes or so, and it was fine. Everything still worked. But this wasn't heavy enough, so I put it through another 30 minutes of moderate rain, and I'll put some of the shots of the rain testing on the screen here for you to check out. And after this second rain test, it doesn't show up well in the video, but there's actually wiring in here that's exposed to the outside, so water got in, and the fan's now toast. I can't turn on the fan function at all, but at least the wiring and the sleep timer still works. As for the materials of the fan, I think it's made entirely of plastic, but I think the fan face and the power ports have a slightly higher quality plastic than the detachable tripod. I found the warranty info in the user guide. I'll leave a link to this PDF below in case you want to check it out, and the warranty period comes in at about 12 months. As for weight, this Nitecore came in at exactly 23 ounces, which is about 653 grams if you need that conversion. As for the pack size of the fan, the detachable legs itself came in at about 8 inches or about 20 centimeters long. The size of the face of the fan came in at about 7 by 7 inches in diameter, which is also about 18 by 18 centimeters, while the depth of the fan came in at about 4.5 inches or 11 centimeters. And the fan blades come in at about 5 1/4 inches in diameter, which is about 13 centimeters. Now, I've got two other tent fans that come with inbuilt lanterns, and that's the Coleman CPX6 and the Odilon camping fans. I'll list out some of the important features of what I look for in a camping fan with a light, and here's how the Nitecore compares to the other two. In terms of fan speed, the minimum speed is about the same for all these fans, but the Nitecore has a much higher max fan speed than the other two. The airflow distance is also much longer than the other two, and it's also much quieter than the other two. The Coleman's and Odilon's low fan speeds were just as noisy as the Nitecore's high fan speed, and honestly, I really hated the sound of the Coleman and Odilon fans. As for the lumen output or brightness of the light, the Nitecore doesn't look so impressive at first, but honestly, I found the other two lanterns too damn bright. The light quality for Coleman was the absolute worst. It was so harsh on the eyes that I hated using it so much. And the Odilon was a little bit better, but not that much better. Nitecore has the most frosted light of all these fans. It has the best diffusion, so maybe that leads to a slightly dimmer light, but it was honestly much better for me than the other two. And the Nitecore is super feature rich compared to the other two, complete with mobile charging, a sleep timer, and a removable fan hood, so you can clean the blades. Now, what about the fan runtimes? That's where, unfortunately, the Nitecore isn't so good, coming in at just 9 to 32 hours. The other two fans have a slightly longer runtime, and I'll get the info for you down right now. Why though? Because both the Coleman and Odilon run on D batteries. Coleman takes 4 D batteries while Odilon takes 2. And I pay about $2 per Energizer Max D battery, so that's $4 to $8 per use, which is insanely expensive in the long run, and I personally don't like battery operated fans. So although I paid slightly more for the Nitecore when I bought all these fans to test, it ultimately saves me the most money after using it just a few times. And if you're wondering how the Nitecore compares to other camping fans in the market though, including those that do not have a built-in lantern function, check out this video on the screen here for all the info that you may need. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you in that one.